Welcome back to another episode of the Day After podcast.
You're finally happy, aren't you?
I mean, I
Aren't
liked
you?
Kane. I liked Kane. I really just thought he was going to be super early. He far exceeded my expectations. Like, let's just be completely upfront about it. I already admitted I was wrong about where Kane was going to be placing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this episode, well, we got a little bit of the aftermath and then obviously people idol hunting. I was surprised that this episode we did not get a Beware idol or anything like that because usually there's some strings attached, and this one was pretty, oh, you just got an idol.
Yeah, it feels like they've kind of eased back the Beware stuff this whole season even. Because even like the idol cage and everything, like the people finding it isn't getting a Beware. It's more like they're now planting a fake thing that's like kind of supposed to be the Beware elements to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I mean, yeah, it's not really been a season full of Beware advantages. So I guess maybe they just decided not to really worry about it this season. I'm not sure. Um, yeah, I mean, this episode had me thinking a lot of all a bunch of things. I mean, for first off, you know, we spend so much time on all of these fake idols, and none of them mattered. Not a
No,
single goddamn one of them mattered to the game.
no. Everyone who had a fake idol went home with said fake idol. I mean, even Kane, who was, because of the knowledge is power, was gifted
Yeah,
or like given the idol to hold on to, went home with the fake idol in his sock.
yeah.
They're cursed.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes me feel really conflicted because we've been complaining about how they've been giving so much screen time to three people basically on the season, and I think the fact that they've spent so much time on these fake idols actually has like almost taken away a lot of like character building that could have been happening, and the fact that none of that even mattered on the season makes me kind
It's
of
like,
go like, please.
I mean, it's reality TV, so like,
Yeah.
these things that happen, like, Chekhov's gun doesn't always pay off in reality TV. But like at the same time, because they did put emphasis on it, and this became
Yeah.
this season that was known for having a lot of fake idols. It is weird that we don't get that payoff. The only thing that I could might see is that what if the one that Heidi found is a fake idol and we don't know it yet?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but I think it's possible.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the secret scene last week, but Kane found Brandon's fake idol. And then but he knew it was the fake idol because he saw when Brandon, you know, found it
Yeah.
and everything. So he was like, damn, but so yeah, technically Kane had gotten his hands on two fake idols on the season. Um yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. I think they could have really just yeah, I don't know. Maybe this has kind of changed my whole opinion on the birdcage fake idol thing. Like, because if we're getting the possibility of these kind of scenarios where we get so much screen time and so much time about uh something that ends up not even mattering to anything, then and we're losing character moments, like
Yeah.
really important, like learning about people because of it. I think
Yeah.
that's is not good. I think that is something that we should just say. Let's not worry about fake idols. They rarely ever actually make a difference in the season. So to put so much emphasis on them in a season is, I think, not good for the game.
Well, I mean, I think like it's just the circumstances haven't really shown up where the fake idol has been a good reveal either. Um, so I so like, obviously when it comes to it roots back to like Brandon's idol thing, where once one team knows about the fake idol, when the merge happens, it's like, oh, okay, well, that means question, the idol you found in the birdcage or stuff like that. Um, I don't know, it didn't pay off. Like if it doesn't happen, I'm not saying like, oh, they should do it for 45 or 46. Like I'm indifferent to it. I was like, oh, okay, that would have been interesting, but
I think it
it
needs to be
just
in a
didn't.
way that doesn't force it to be on the screen because the birdcage was forcing the fake idols to be a thing. Um,
Yeah.
and then if anyone else thought about making a fake idol, um, but like yeah, I mean Matthew, wanted that idol to get played. Like that was like maybe the one thing that he could have done on the season because he never doesn't ever get a vote. He gets medevac. Um, and his like only thing was okay, let's see how this fake idol plays into the game, and does not even do it. So
I
uh
mean, I feel like that's kind of the thing with some, because we look at Lauren's extra vote that also didn't, like in theory it should have made a difference, but at the same time it was just kind of like wasted.
yeah. Yeah, I was honestly a little shocked for her to be playing the extra vote as well.
I mean, it makes sense in a way, because it's like, okay, like I get it's like the, in the sense of like not having to revote
Mhm.
if you don't have to. So like if it was 4 votes on Heidi, 3 votes on, or like let's say it was supposed to be 4 votes on Danny, 3 votes on Heidi, and then the Soka 3 voted for Kane, then it'd be a 4-3-3. So then their target would have gone home if they didn't play an idol, or they would have to do the revote. And it just boils down to like Tika just like being in the middle and like being very fluid with the way they go. And even the other contestants are very aware of that fact either.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, well, Tika's not really a threat, but it's like, but they're also in the middle. So that
Yeah.
gives them even more threat status than you think.
Yeah, and it seems like only one person on the season so far actually really is noticing that, and that's Franny. She made two different confessionals this episode about that exact thing. One at near the beginning of the episode, and then one during tribal council after the votes were starting to kind of align. That's when Franny was like mentioning about the Tika members as well. So she had a couple different instances of it. Clearly, she knows that they're kind of the ones controlling the game right now. Um, and I think the rest of them thinks it's still just the Soka Ratsu war. But yeah, no, it's really them controlling it. I think now that we just lost a Ratu member, I think we will probably lose a Soka member next week. If they play I think the right way, which is to now make the other tribe down to two. So that way now you have the most members out of the remaining people.
Yeah. I mean, it could. I mean, the next time on Survivor does look like, oh, there might be some discourse and it might not go the way we think it is. But I always take those with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to get you hyped for the next episode.
Yeah.
Um, but speaking of which, if we're talking about losing people, we did see some more about Carson and his sickness and whatnot. And even one of the secret scenes was referring to Carson and like him not feeling too hot. Uh I think Carson, they keep bringing this up. So I'm worried that Carson might be medevaced.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that it's happened twice now, and that there was even a break day. Um, you
Yeah.
know, uh, so yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really hoping not, obviously, because
Yeah.
I think he's one of the better players out there. And I think he's in a good position to go very far in the game. But yeah, yeah, we just don't want this to really become the co-wrong where we really do get three medevacs on season.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
it's,
uh,
I mean, it just sucks for the players involved too. Cause like, granted, they
mhm,
were like, Bruce is a different story because like, like, because he like literally within the first 5 minutes of playing the game got his injury and stuff. That's like different. But like, if you're like already playing Survivor and you're already so far in, you know, it's really tough. And like, that hurts because you will always wonder what if this didn't happen?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hopefully Carson's fine. Hopefully, they're just trying to maybe build an underdog story for him or something to make us feel like he's gotta work his way back into the game or something like that. But yeah, yeah. Hopefully he'll beat this sickness or whatever he's got going on and be able to keep playing the game so we don't have to deal with it.
yeah. Um, that being said, if we're gonna continue talking about Tika, we did see a little bit more of, I would say, we got to see a bit more of Carolyn, and it's like the stuff that I wanted. It's like more of the things that grounds her instead of making her a caricature of herself. Where it was
Yeah.
like, hey, we got to see her backstory. We got to see her dancing with her fiance and like kid, just like and whatnot. And it's like, you know, this is the stuff they should have shown at the beginning instead of her talking about digging through her kid's crap. Um,
Hey, well, that I think that's the reason they showed that stuff at the beginning was exactly what she said this episode was how everyone now doesn't actually think that she's a serious like they're not taking her seriously. They're thinking that she's kind of a joke. She's just this crazy person, but there really is a lot more to her than what a lot of people might see on a first impression.
yeah,
I think that that's what this whole scene was about was everyone thinking one thing about her, but actually once you get to kind of get to know her, you see a lot more to her than what's on the surface. And I think this was a huge episode for Carolyn. I think her win equity managed to kind of go up a little bit because I think the last two episodes she kind of had a quiet edit. She wasn't really showcased too much, but I think this was another good episode where it's like, oh wow, Franny's commenting on her as well, which I think Franny's someone who could have a lot of sway on the jury bench. So if she was on the jury, I think she could very much be able to convince people like, hey, actually, guys, maybe Carolyn was doing stuff out there. She was a great person. Like, we all just loved hanging around Carolyn.
true. I mean, I don't know. That begs a question. I feel like the Tika member with probably the best story is Jam Jam right now because like him saying like everyone that has voted for him, he got rid of systematically, even though like, it's one vote out of all that. It's still something where you bring that to a jury and they look at that, they can draw there is some legitimacy to what he is saying in that regard, especially since Tika is in the middle and he did have to convince Carolyn not to vote for Danny and stuff like that. Whereas, like, no, he was kind of like in charge in some regard, or like had the heavier opinion in the Tika 3, which are the swing votes. Especially when people were like, I wouldn't say writing him off, not writing him off isn't voting him off, but like more so of like, like, oh, he's not really that big of a threat. We really have to focus on the two other teams. And it's like, Ratu, Soka, and but like, more so of like, oh, okay, he's not as scary as we thought in the beginning. So not in the same degree as Carolyn, but also is kind of being like the focus. I dropped something off my desk. The focus is not on him anymore
Yeah,
in a lot of stuff.
yeah. I do think Jam Jam would probably win if he's sitting next to Carolyn. I think that's Carolyn's thing. She has to get to the end. I think honestly, I think she kind of wants to not sit next to any of the Tika members. I think her best thing is to take out both Jam Jam and Carson, probably around 6 and 5. I'm gonna try to kind of squeeze in at the end there. Because yeah, I think she needs Jam Jam and Carson to be on the jury bench to talk for her. I think that's just as simple as it is. I
Yeah.
think she might be able to get like a few answers that are pretty good, but I think the whole, however long the final tribal council is, I don't think she's going to be able to have the consistency to do every question as good as it can be. I think she needs someone to be vouching for her. And
Yeah.
people know like that she was actually playing the game. She wasn't just this crazy person out there just picking up, putting rocks all over her body or whatever.
Yeah. And, this is something that has been coming up. I did see an article about Jeff addressing, the jury and whether or not they should be sequestered from one another
Yeah.
um, before everything. So people that are voted off early don't necessarily get to, create that narrative
Mhm.
in Ponderosa or something like that. And while Jeff does entertain the idea, it's an ultimate no because that's very, very costly.
Yeah.
Um, and like restricting also for every cat, even if it was in Ponderosa, and it's like, oh, you can only stay to this location in the thing.
Mhm.
Anywho, it's one of those things where jury management, and we've talked about this before, is not just, being nice to people, but it's also like where you place them in the jury as well.
Yeah.
Um, because, narratives are built and you're like, yeah, they only see what they discuss at tribal council and who gets voted off and everything they say that wasn't said at tribal.
Mhm.
Um, that also being said, Jeff also entertained the idea of like jury members seeing challenges as well, which I'm like, guess you could, but at the same time, like we already know who wins immunity. I'm pretty sure they talk about how they won immunity during tribal council.
Yeah, but I will say I think you wouldn't exactly be like, wow, that was a crazy come from behind victory that just secured this person a win or whatever. I
Yeah,
think that because I mean I will say I have noticed immunity people don't really get any respect at the end. They only get respect from people near the end of the game who have seen all these immunities wins. They usually don't get the first few people who get voted out. So they're already kind of going off where it's like, okay, I gotta get pretty much everyone else besides like those first three people because they just weren't here for the immunity run. Um, so I do honestly think that they should have the jury members be there for immunity challenges because I do think that that is a very important part. It's why tribal council is so important right now. Is that is the one time that you can make a move for the jury.
yeah,
Whereas if it did immunity challenges, now the immunity beasts can also try to make big moves at immunity challenges, maybe things that we haven't even really necessarily seen before. Because now they know that if they make something big happen here, that the jury bench is going to be like, wow, that's crazy.
yeah. I don't know, like because we've even done a full video on this on what makes a winner, basically. And I
Mhm.
still think that due to our data and everything, it still kind of holds up of like, most of it is social.
Mhm.
And, granting yourself immunity isn't necessarily how you get the win condition. The win condition is getting people on the jury to vote for you. While that's something that could help you get further in the game, because like if you can't be voted off, you're one step closer to the end. And it is something you can put on your resume. It doesn't hold as much weight as, the big game moves and stuff like that. Like,
Mhm.
there's a reason why they consider taking out Danny today. And that was mostly because, oh, he had the first, like, well, I wouldn't say the first successful idol play this season, but since the jury phase, he
Uh,
was the first one to like play an idol and then it take out a big target.
mhm.
So like, now a lot of attention's on Danny out of the Soka members. And if he won immunity, the target would have been on Franny. Um,
Mhm.
but like,
Yeah. Imagine though, imagine an immunity challenge where there's the same amount of people in the game as there are on the jury bench. and they have to team up with one of the jury members for the immunity challenge. And it's you kind of are hoping, oh, hopefully I get someone who likes me, because maybe the jury member can actually, if you get paired up with someone who you pissed off on the jury bench, you'll kind of be able to see that in the immunity challenge, as maybe they just come kind of say, no, I'm just gonna screw this over. I think that there could even be some really fun dynamics in that kind of challenge, where it's like almost a sneak peek on some people for the jury bench of how people actually want to see people deal.
That could be interesting. I've done something not recently, a couple months ago, where it was like where it's an individual game, but like at one point we teamed up, and the person that I was teamed up with had double points that round where we were teamed up.
Mhm.
At a certain point, I'm like, I don't want him to win.
Yeah.
So I started just not answering answers, because I was like, since we both have to agree on an answer, I'm not going to answer any of these questions because I don't want you to win. So, so I can't have you getting more points than me. So at a certain point, I'm like, stop. So like, I think it would be interesting to see some saboteur kind
Yeah.
of things. Like imagine if Lex was paired up with Boston Rob way back in the day. They had
Yeah.
a challenge like that. It's like, no, screw you.
Exactly. See, I think it would I would almost guarantee you that at least one jury member would purposely lose the challenge because they don't like someone like that. Like it's very rare, I think, where all of them would actually be like, okay, let's do this. Let's actually be playing. Like someone's going to have that thoughts.
I mean, I think like maybe there would have to be some incentive for the jury member.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, there will be some people like, if this season was the season to do it, like if for whatever reason Danny and Franny were, or not Danny and Franny, if Franny and Matt were like teamed up, then they'll be like, hell yeah. Matt would be like, I'll totally help you, even though you're pretty much doing good on your own. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Franny, second immunity win.
mhm.
Someone who does go out there not expecting them to win any immunities at all, thinking that they're the weakest female out there. And lo and behold, here she is now with two immunity wins, beating some big guys like Brandon and Danny uh
Yeah.
to get it. So good on her.
And I feel like that's something where, especially since a lot of challenges these days require like balance, concentration, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, some people underestimate how, those things are a big advantage in those things. Or like with last week with the, wall one, you know, being less heavy and stuff and being a bit more light really benefits you because like, it's less weight for you to hold up.
Mhm.
Um, so, it really depends on what kind of challenges we see in the future. But Franny is starting to become that challenge beast where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. Um,
Yeah, she definitely, I think, has the best balance out of everyone out there right now.
yeah.
Which right now, that's a lot of immunity challenges at this stage of the game. So, so yeah, she's definitely. I think right now it's like Franny and Danny are really the two like that I'm expecting to win an immunity challenge. Maybe if Carson feels better and there's a puzzle near the end, maybe he'll be able to win those ones. But right now, I'm pretty much like, okay, let's see what the showdown between Danny and Franny for immunities.
Probably. And the thing is, they're on the same side too. And I think
Yeah.
like that's a big advantage if we're looking on who's left. Now, granted, Lauren also won a challenge.
Mhm.
Um, and she sat out this one, so it's like tricky to say like where she falls in that like challenge beast scale. But
Mhm.
like I would say Soka, if we're given Danny and Franny both being two individuals that are like, you know, near the end of a lot of these challenges, it says well to the Soka alliance, basically.
Mhm.
And let's not count out Heidi, who,
Yeah.
for like, you know, who again found like an advantage, like not twice in a row, but like two tribal or like two episodes, she did find like the advantage. She's able to like
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah, and yeah, because that is now like basically a Ahsoka idol. And Danny and Franny are most likely one of them will win an immunity. And then the other one would probably be targeted if they were coming after Ahsoka, which makes I think the option for Heidi very clear of who she needs to play an idol for in that kind of scenario. So yeah, that Ahsoka definitely has a lot of tools right now. It's now just can they use it effectively to I think dethrone Tika, because right now Tika's got just way more power, even though I mean Carolyn, we've forgotten Carolyn has an idol. I mean Carolyn might have forgot she has an idol at this point too. Who knows? she
Perhaps she hasn't needed to use it
I
at
know.
all.
Yeah, she hasn't needed to use it. Hasn't been brought up like at all since she planted the fake one on Sarah. Way back in what was that, episode 3
Yeah,
or
actually 4,
yeah, yeah, it was 4.
episode 4.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see how if she remembers her idol and is able to do something as well. But yeah, right now I think Ratu is in a lot of trouble. Because I mean, I'm just looking at it like Soka has, I think, a lot of options. Tika has a lot of options. Ratu is kind of just at the mercy of the other players.
I mean, kind of, because especially since she played her advantage, they
Yeah,
don't really have anything.
yeah,
Um, and they don't even have numbers on their side now either.
yeah.
So
They,
like
they don't even have a fake idol.
they don't even have a fake idol to fake people out, but like they it's not looking good, so it really depends on if Soko wants to be like, hold up a sec. Franny's like, hold on. Don't you think Tika is kind of playing us all in some ways? Because they did vote for such and such. And, like, even though Jam Jam's revealed this episode, that was kind of his plan. He already knew that where the idol was being played and stuff.
Mhm.
So he has the, trust of Ratu. Well, not anymore. But it's like, it's one of those things where when you play in the middle, in modern day, you can only do that for so long before people wise up. And Franny started wising up. So I do think there's only 8 people left. I don't think. Are we going to get a double elimination soon? I don't think. I don't
I don't
know.
think so. I think because they rushed days. I don't know if you noticed this, but they had tribal councils on day 13, 14, 15, like 3
Yeah,
tribal councils just like back to back to back. So I think that was their way of kind of like rushing through elimination
expediting stuff.
without having to do a double elimination.
So I could possibly see them doing. I can possibly see them doing the thing where they don't have any of those double tribal councils. They don't split it up because they already split up something, and them finally getting to be like, hey, uh, we got to take Tika down right now because if they target one of us or something like that, like Ratu, for all intents and purposes, it's not really a threat right now.
Mhm.
Like Lauren and Jamie, if we're talking like on the tier list, what really made them scary was their advantages.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, Lauren has a comp win under her belt, but I feel like Franny and Danny are getting a bit more attention in that regard.
Yeah, well, also you got to remember, Danny kind of helped carry her through the first few portions quite a bit. I would say so because it was one of the slowly kind of dwindle people out. So it is like cool she got the win, but it's not like she did it all on her own. Like
That is fair.
there was help.
Yeah. So it's really tough to say, like, because like we're approaching 8, and this is the point where it's like, all right, who are really our biggest threats? Like, because like we're approaching like, once we get to 7, that's when you really have to think about the jury and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, because we're in this phase where it's like, okay, who's really playing a great game? And yeah. So I think the Soka Tika war, or the Soka Ratu war might have came to an end this episode. And then they're gonna realize, oh, okay, we definitely have to get rid of some Tika members. Just makes We'll see. This is all
Yeah.
hypothetical.
Yeah, we'll see because I still think that uh overall Tiga's playing the middle actually very well. And is in a situation where sure I think Franny might know, but I think if they take out Franny next episode, I think that there's no way Ratu or Soko think about taking out Tiga. I think that they're like, I think that they'll kind of get locked more onto each other for at least another vote or two, which will at that point make it too late. So um
I
eh,
think at 7 you have to know.
maybe well, if you've been feuding and warring for so long with the faction, sometimes you get blindsided by how it's going. It's sometimes you're not seeing the full picture. You got tunnel vision onto something,
Yeah,
and
I
I think
feel
that's what they're trying to look for right now is the tunnel vision. Tunnel vision.
I think if they go after a Ahsoka member next episode, then at 7 I'm like, yeah, then they'll realize something's up because they've been playing through the middle. If they get rid of a former Ratu, whether it's Jamie, whether it's Lauren, then I feel like they may be more compelled to not target Tika.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, like when it comes to the point when you're playing in the middle, that you do have to like establish a side because you can only do it, like you can only do it for so long. It's
Mhm.
a it's a good strategy, but timing is everything with that.
Yeah. Yeah, true. How did all the votes go out this last time? Let me look that up real quick.
4 people received votes. Let's see. Heidi got 3,
Yeah.
Jamie got 1, Danny got 1, and then Kane got the rest. He got
Okay.
5.
So, yeah, I'm looking at here. Tika. So Carolyn, Karsten, um, and Jam voted Kane. So yeah, they did make the very clear. All of us vote for Ratu here. Um, so yeah, I mean now they're with Soka. So yeah, it's definitely more. And Franny, yeah, I think it's just as I was saying. I think they got to take out Franny because she's going to be the only person. She's probably going to be going back to camp and trying to pitch the get rid of Tika. Um, and so that's where that route's probably going to be coming in. But if they take out Franny next week, I think that that's the one person who's going to be spouting that will be gone. At that point, it becomes I don't really see Tika getting taken out by the Ratu Soka alliance that could form.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
But just based on the narrative and stuff, like you said, I can see a final 3 being fully Tika.
yeah.
Um, just because of that edit. As we
I mean, it's an absurd difference in confessionals. I don't know if we want to get into that yet, but it is. I mean,
I mean, we might
it's
as
pretty
well since
crazy.
we're on the topic.
Okay. So Jam currently has the most confessionals, number one with 49 confessionals.
Makes
So,
sense.
so definitely killing it there. Um, Carolyn second with 42 confessionals. Then we got Carson with 34. So he's the least confessional Tika member right there. um, and then number four, we got Danny with 26. And then Franny with 24. is the fifth place. And then we got Jamie with 21 for sixth. And then Lauren at 7 with 18. She's got 18 confessionals. And then Heidi's in last with 17.
All right. I'm guessing Kane was like, because I know he got voted out. What was his final score? Because I know
His
he
was
got a few.
Yeah, he had 19 at the end. So
I kind of figured when he was getting more screen time this episode, I'm like, oh no, it's
yeah,
happening.
yeah. This was the give Kane some more screen time. They feel bad for giving him the wrong name last week.
Yeah. For those of you who don't follow Kane on Instagram, which I understand if you don't, um, he even made a joke out of it when he's like, when you're playing such an under the radar game that even the producers don't know which player you are. He was a good sport about it. But yeah, I feel it is sad to see him go. I know someone in this Facebook chat I'm in, he's like, I'm glad Kane went because I'm tired of hearing about D&D. And I'm like, we're about to throw hands. We're about to throw hands.
Yeah. I wonder if the producers literally every confessional was just like, okay, Kane, how do you tie this into D&D? How does this become Dungeon and Dragon for like because I think out of his 19 confessionals, probably half of them were about Dungeons and Dragons.
As it should.
But yeah, Kane, I don't know what happened with him honestly in the edits. Like I feel like he should have gotten much more of an edits than what he got. Like sure he goes out here at final nine, but I feel like he has a good personality that would be entertaining to see on the screen, and it just seemed like I either didn't have anything good, like maybe Kane just was just bombing all of his confessionals for most of the time out there, or I don't know. I feel like
I
I
mean,
yeah
he's not the only one to feel this, but like so many of contestants have been overshadowed this season.
yeah
So like, I think he's one of the victims of that.
yeah
Um, Obviously not the worst in my opinion, but like, like when we're talking about Lauren, and Heidi, like, the bottom two basically, like
mhm,
there have been episodes where we didn't hear from them. And like, we've only been hearing more from them because it's like, there are less people and, it's their part of their, like, the Soka Ratu war that's going on as
mhm.
well. But it's like, what we keep saying, Tika gets a lot of stuff, and what we hear is the Soka um, Ratu war,
Mhm.
and that's basically what everyone's confessionals are all about.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely weird because I feel like 42 and 43 actually had pretty good edits overall. Like in terms of they tried to make the entire cast like shine in some way. Like they tried to make a lot of even pre-merge people were getting chances to shine. People early merge felt like they were
Yeah,
people. And right now it just really feels like
imbalanced.
yeah, we got the three Tika members. Maybe Danny and Franny are kind of cool, and then everyone else just like big middle fingers to you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think like maybe this is their way of justifying having like hour 30-minute episodes just so they can be like, yeah, we're going to extend it a bit longer so we can get time to interact with all these people.
That
I'm
would
like,
not shock me.
you've made it work before.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I won't be mad at an extra 30 minutes of Survivor or
Yeah.
whatnot. But like at the same time, it's like for 20 years, granted, not every season is as balanced with the edit, but you've been doing this for 20 plus years, and now you're finding an issue with like who to give screen time to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, So really, the only logical thing that I can think of is just Carolyn, Jan Jam, and Carson get to the end. They're already big characters that are obviously we're going to get screen time the second they got cast. Like as long as they're out there, they're going to get screen time. And so yeah, the only thing that I can think of is that they get to the end, so they're like, well, I guess I can just give screen time to them the entire season. And that's what's happening. It just seems so mind-boggling that like the difference between the top Pika member and the top Soka member, which is Danny, is 23 confessional difference.
It's nearly double.
Yeah. And then if you look at and then for Ratu, it would be a 28 confessional difference. Like that's not okay.
I mean, like, because like we do want some. Obviously, there's still a mystery on who is the winner and stuff like that. And then I know when it came to, Erica's win and stuff, it was like, oh, she felt so underrepresented throughout the entire season up until like final seven, final eight.
Mhm.
And so like it was kind of like a surprise to a lot of people that she won. So maybe it's overcompensation for that, but who knows? Like, like we want a fulfilling winner. We want to be like, oh yeah, like, granted, I haven't rewatched 43, but like, it makes sense on paper when Gabler won.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, he wasn't necessarily out of the blue,
Mhm.
maybe out of left field. Like, like out of everyone that was left, like, oh wait, he won.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like because he was getting a lot of screen time, it made sense. Granted,
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel like the other potential winners, like Cody, like Jesse, like Carla,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, okay, like, are they going to win? If one of them going to win, they're the top three, and they get a lot of content as well. So, like, it should be one of them.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
like,
mean, it was a case of just literally at final six, it had to be exactly that order for Gabler to win, and it ended up being that exact order, so it worked out for
yeah,
him. Yeah, but yeah, I do wonder if this is not necessarily they're reacting to 41, but I do think that they're reacting to 43 because I do know that they did not like 43. They did not like Gabler as a winner. Um, and I think that they're trying to now basically give a lot of screen time to probably one of the winners here to kind of show like, look at this, we have a great winner in either Carolyn or Jam Jam.
I
Like
mean,
this is
at
my
this
my
point,
theory.
at this point, like, I feel like either one, like, yes, I feel like they have good stories going in to Final Tribal. If
Mhm,
these are like the top two, that
mhm.
will most likely be winner. Um, but I'm like, I don't know. It's tough. Like, granted, we're given so much crap to the editors and stuff. Like editing, especially with all that raw footage stuff.
Mhm.
Granted, they've done it better in the past, so that's why we're giving them smack. But like, I don't know. Hopefully they course correct for future seasons.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we just want to see as many people on the season get screen time and is able to at least be somewhat fleshed out. And like this season was technically a lower cast because there was only 17 people who actually played the game. So you're already like, okay, cool. We got one less person here to really give screen time to. Let's make sure that the everyone's getting their time.
Their
But
share, their share.
yeah,
No purple edits, and
yeah.
now it's like all the purple edits.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Lauren, she had a good episode this week, so at least
Yeah,
she got shown. But before that, she was just getting absolutely nothing. It was abysmal. And Heidi has been shown a little bit, but even like she doesn't have any super big standout episodes except the one where she got that advantage, but I think she just played it really wrong. So I don't even really think like I wouldn't
Yeah,
consider that like wow, Heidi just totally like changed what my perception of how she's going to do on this game. Like there's none of that happening from that episode.
yeah. I don't know. We got what, 4 more episodes of Survivor? 3? Or of this season?
I believe so, right? Because I think episode 13 will be the last one, maybe, or where
We're
is
on
it? 12?
episode, this was episode 9, so yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so okay, we have we'll see how things go. Obviously we have one less person, so that should equal to more screen time for everyone.
yeah, we've been seeing.
Uh,
Yeah, Lauren and Heidi have been getting some more screen time because there's just less people, so they got to give
yeah,
they give at least something to someone else.
exactly. Um, but yeah, all right. So for LVP and MVP, for MVP, I do feel like I should give it to Jam Jam. One, because of like in a row, you know, all the people that wrote his name down, he has, yeah, he's gotten rid of, or like he influenced a lot, like, and he was able to convince Carolyn, who has been known to not always listen to a plan and do her own thing, that she feels better to get on board with voting out Kane. And then also, I feel like with his edit, with the story that he's building up for the jury, that he is pretty strong going forward when it comes to all that.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think that's a fair one there. I'm actually going to give it to Danny because when he got that one stray vote that happened for him,
Yeah.
he laughed. He said, "Huh, that's not like he gave the expression to the jury bench like that's not happening," and it ended up not happening. Like he had such confidence in how the vote was going to go that
Even though,
he got a
even though
straight.
there, yeah, even though there was like whispering at
Yeah,
Tribal, and even though when Jeff subtly called him out, because it was
yeah,
like, someone was like, oh, how someone reacts to that question might tell a lot about, what kind of person they are. And
mhm.
like Danny was like, no, 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 no. Like, I call crap on it. And Kane is like, no, I feel like, I'm not going to do well in this challenge. Why not, sit out so that way, um, things can pan out, even though like they all knew that whoever sits out were still vulnerable. And most likely, if it was a Ratu member, it was going to go, one of them was going to go home.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I feel like that might put a bigger target on him in the long run.
Yeah, yeah, possibly. I just think at least for right now, for him to like know the vote was actually going to be going this way. I do think that's something interesting. Also, we just didn't get to talk about that little moment, which I thought was pretty funny. It's very small. It's pretty missable, I think, but
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was funny. What about LVP?
LVP,
I feel like no one necessarily played like a bad.
bad game. It was more
Yeah,
so like I feel like everyone's actions were justified
yeah,
because, people were worried about a knowledge is power. So I don't, was for a fake idol anyway.
yeah. Oh, you
Um,
know who I'm giving it to? I'm giving it to Jamie, because of the first off, actually, I gotta step back for a second. Why is it called a freaking negotiation? There was no negotiating at all
exactly.
that
They
happened
they
there.
didn't go to, hey Jeff, how about 3? You're
Yeah,
not the first one to point it out either.
yeah. I'm just what are we doing here, Jeff? Like you can't call a negotiation
Well,
and
I mean,
have it set like this is the number.
I think because like we even saw prior to that everyone was pretty adamant about, or at least Danny was trying to rally people and be like, hey, let's just like not do that, okay?
Mhm.
um And then some people were like, it doesn't make sense, especially if I'm not going to win this. We're all starving. Why not? Um, because it was a crucial thing not to step down. And I feel like because they had the mindset of like, oh, we're not going to do it, they forgot, to negotiate lower because Jeff has done that in the past, not even when it was like a negotiation thing, like we have been seeing with this. They've done it in multiple seasons where it's like, oh, you can sit out and then, get an advantage. You can get rice for your tribe or something.
Yeah. I think that they're just trying to get the Angelina Keeley negotiation moments. I think they want that kind of stuff, and that's why they're trying really hard to make negotiation like a thing now in Survivor. Like this is the negotiation vote or the negotiation immunity. But
Well, me,
I
I
don't.
remind you that someone brought a papaya to tribe and was like, hey, Jeff, here's a papaya. Let's not vote anyone out. That
Let's
is a
put the papaya
negotiation.
out. It'll be like that total drama episode where they get rid of the coconuts.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it was inconsequential because the person that ended up stepping down was Heidi, who, yes, she did get votes on her, but fundamentally speaking, it wasn't because she wasn't like if it was Kane that stepped down to be number 4, it would have been different in the sense of like, oh, well, they could have negotiated and he could have had a shot. But because
Yeah.
Heidi was, well, her name, obviously she got 3 votes on her, but that was also because they were trying to split a vote because of an idol. You know, her going down in the place of like, oh, the bar is set at 4 was kind of inconsequential. They didn't negotiate, which I'm still like, yeah, that was kind of
Yeah.
like a,
I feel like because they got 2 people right off the bat, where they
yeah,
got Carson and Lauren right away. I think the second that they have that, you ask Jeff, can we do 2? And then Jeff would probably either say no or meet in the middle and go 3. And then bam, you at least there's like some thinking about like what's going on
what's going
here.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of
I,
just
I want
like
to be, I would love to go on Survivor and be in this position and then just go to Jeff's like, how about we just get rice? And then he's probably going to put me on blast and be like, what the heck are you thinking? That's not a negotiation. What do you, oh, I thought of something messed up I would have said. I'm gonna say it, and I mean this with all the love and stuff, but it was like, if I was like, how about none of us step down? He's like, why? And I'm like, hopefully less medevacs this season.
oh.
Something like that.
Yikes.
No, no.
Yikes. Yeah, but anyways, getting back to my LVP thing, I do choose Jamie because the thing is if she just was quiet and didn't get kind of brought in, but the fact that she had that moment of I'll step down, I don't wanna, okay, I'm gonna play anyways. I think that is always worse for your game than just saying nothing or just doing it. If you
That's
have
fair.
kind of torn reaction, it is you're basically getting the worst of both worlds.
That makes sense. Yeah, because it just puts more attention on her. And
Yeah,
especially since, they're the final 2 Ratu,
yeah,
it's like they might try and target Jamie more than Lauren,
yeah.
especially because if we're looking at advantages and whatnot and what they bring,
Mhm.
they are kind of on equal footing when it comes to their position in the game and what they can do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Lauren lost some of her power by using her extra votes. So I could see that maybe at least for the next votes, then not choosing Lauren but choosing Jamie instead.
Yeah, yeah. I think just because I can't think of anyone else, probably, yeah,
Yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah, if you ever have a decision on Survivor, everyone, make your decision and don't sway, because if you sway and have like this like I don't know, like it will never work. It will only look bad in front of the eyes of everyone, and you will not gain the
Yeah.
benefits of at least seeming like the hero for stepping down. Like Heidi at least gets to be able to say, hey, I was the one that like sealed the deal, I was the one that made it happen.
Yeah.
And Jamie basically had that opportunity and she said no to the tribe.
Nope. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I think that's going to do it here for this episode. We will see you next week for another episode of the Day After Podcast.
All right, guys. Peace.